Okay, hear me out. Your brand identity is not just your logo, right? Let's talk about 4 elements that can take your brand from blah to banging. So first is market and audience research. Before you even decide to design a thing, to write out a brand strategy, you have to figure out, what are my competitors doing? Who are my competitors? Who is my audience? Why are they attracted to what they're attracted to? How do they buy? There's so many questions when it comes to your market and your audience. And 2 tips that I'll give you when it comes to competitors is look at their websites, right? Look at their testimonials specifically, right? What are some of the positive keywords they use? What are some of the negative keywords they use? And how can you use that experience to better your business and your brand? When it comes to your audience, talk to actual customers. If you have a product-based business, the top 5 customers of the year, invite them for a Zoom call, invite them for a phone call, and see if they can give you feedback. And see what they love about your brand, so you can utilize that not only in your brand strategy, but your marketing overall. So next we have unique positioning, which in a nutshell is how you show up differently than your competition. Now that you have done the research, looked into your industry, looked into your audience, you understand what your audience's pet peeves are, you understand what you do better than your competition, what your competition does better than you. Now you have a good sense of figuring out, how can I position my brand to be completely different? And a lot of this comes from personal experiences, professional experience. What skills did you have in the past 5 years and the past 10 years that give you a one-up on the competition, right? And when it comes to your audience, what unique thing are they missing when it comes to this industry? What is that gap that you can fill in order to serve your audience better? And then next we have authentic voice, which is one of my favorites, right? Whether you have a personal brand or a business focused brand, right? Having a voice that encapsulates the experience that you want your brand to provide is amazing. As we have researched your audience, researched your industry, talked about what makes you unique. Now we have to find out, how are you going to communicate that? What is your messaging overall, right? It's one thing to say, I'm the best, but it's another thing to figure out all the different ways that you could say that phrase. So figuring out your authentic voice is something that I think is amazing. I think you have to figure out how you communicate to your audience when they're not wanting to buy, right? When they are objecting to whatever it is that you offer. When it comes to authentic voice, how do you encourage your audience? Do you encourage your audience, or do you give them a little bit of tough love, right? So figuring out how you communicate to your audience is one of the top 5 things, right, that I think is amazing when it comes to brand strategy. And lastly, we have creative and visual direction. So like I said before, your brand identity is not just your logo, right? It is all of these things plus some. And your creative and visual direction includes your logo. It also includes things like your brand photography. What style of photography do you use? What kind of outfits do you choose for your brand photography? What kind of props? What kind of models are going to be included in your brand for the next few years? What colors are chosen, the reason behind the colors that are chosen, and what makes your brand unique visually. Now that we've decided all of these things, we've researched, we've figured out your positioning, we've figured out your voice, and a host of other things when it comes to brand strategy. Now we figure out, what does that look like, right? And how does this look make our audience feel or be encouraged to work with us? So these are just 4 elements of brand strategy that I think are like top tier in my eyes. And if you don't have anything, I would start with these 4.